This video is for assignment 8.2, midpoint formula. This has 8 questions long. Here we need to find the location of B, the midpoint of AC. Now midpoint just means exactly in the middle. Okay, so how do we find exactly in the middle? We have point A and point C at given points on a number line. We add those together, so -2 plus 10, and that gives us 8. And then whatever we get as an answer, we just divide by 2. And so 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that tells me the midpoint between those 2 points is 4. Now, this probably is easy to do without doing all this math. You just count. But sometimes you're going to have decimals, and those decimals are where it gets a little tricky. So just get used to adding the 2 numbers together and then dividing by 2. Number 2, same thing here. We have 2 numbers. We have -12 plus -2, and that gives me -14. And -14 divided by 2 is -7. So my midpoint is right there at -7. Okay, find the location of G, the midpoint of FH. See here, the number line has disappeared. We only know the 2 numbers, but that's okay. We can still do the exact same thing. -2 or 6.2, add the 2 together, plus -2.9, and I'm going to use a calculator just to make sure I'm getting the right numbers here. I don't want to do it in my head. -6.2 plus -2.9 is -9.1. And then we're going to divide that by 2, and we get -4.55. So that's my midpoint right there. -4.55. Number 4, we have 2 numbers, -6.2 plus 1.4. I'm going to do it on the calculator. -6.2 plus 1.4 is -4.8. And then we're going to divide that by 2, and that gives us -2.4. And so that would be my midpoint. Number 5, X is the midpoint of YW. But notice right here, we have X and we have Y, but we don't have W. W is going to be over here somewhere because X is the midpoint. Okay, so we're given the midpoint here, and the distance from here to the midpoint is, let's see, -8 minus 3. Distance, we just do the minus. This is 11 spaces. Okay, so to find the distance between 2 points, just subtract them. Well, if that's 11 spaces, then that also needs to be 11 spaces. So what's -8 minus 11 is -19. So this would be at -19 right here. And we can always check our work. What's -19 plus 3? And we get -16. -16 divided by 2 is -8. Okay? So we can always check our work and make sure we got it right. But that tells me that point W is at -19. So be careful up here. Make sure that you're reading the question and that you understand which point you're trying to find. Number 16. In the figure below, G is between E and H. And F is the midpoint of E and G. So from E to F is the same thing as F to G. That's what that means. Those two line segments are exactly the same. If FG is 8, FG is 8, well, that tells me that EF is also 8 because they're the same. EH from here to here is 21. Find GH. Okay, well, we need to find this piece right here. And so what we need to ask ourselves is from here to here is 16. 8 plus 8, right? So we know that that distance is 16. Well, 16 plus what? 16 plus something is 21. To find out, we can just take 21 minus 16, and we see it's 5. So 8, 8, and 5 will give me the full 21. So that tells me that GH is 5. So on this type of problem, just kind of draw out the pieces here, and then use addition subtraction to find what's the missing piece. Number 7. Find the midpoint M of line segment that joins P and Q. Well, there's my equation. To find the midpoint, we do the exact same thing that we've done with everything else. X plus X. 4 plus negative 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So my midpoint for X is going to be 1. We do the same thing with Y. Negative 3 plus negative 7 is negative 10. So negative 3 plus negative 7 is negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So that tells me the Y is negative 5. So just like on a number line, you add them together, divide by 2. Add them together, divide by 2. Just do the X and the Y. And number 8. Here, we're given an unknown endpoint. We have the midpoint in this. Well, how do I get from 7 to 1? I minus 6. Well, that's going to keep going. From 1 to here, I have to minus 6. What is 1 minus 6? That would be negative 5. And we can check it. What's negative 5 plus 7? That's 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that gives me my midpoint. Now from 1 to negative 2, from 1 to negative 2, we subtract 3. Well, from negative 2 to this number, we need to subtract 3 as well. And so that would give us, again, negative 5. And we check our work. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So all we do is find the pattern and just keep it going. We know their midpoint, which means it's the exact same distance from this point to this and from this to this. So that tells us how we can find the midpoint there. Hopefully this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.